So I do get a lot of questions on apartment syndication. So I want to share some of this presentation. Before that, I'd like to introduce myself. Hope you guys are able to hear me. So I started real estate about 7 years ago. I made a lot of money and lost a lot of money. Most of the time, I lost a lot of money because of the investors that I used to work with, and most of the time, the realtors who would actually help me out with my deals. So most of the realtors that I was working with didn't have knowledge about the disclosures, didn't know how to negotiate terms, because I started working for an investor, and what real estate agents learn over the period of 10 years, I was able to learn in a period of 1 to 2 years, because I actually used to work for an investor and I had a boss, and that boss would make me negotiate deals, negotiate contracts, and do every single thing that most of the real estate agents don't want to do in the first year. So I had a lot of pressure to actually learn pretty much every single thing I possibly could. And then most of the real estate agents I was working with were not proactive. They couldn't make quick offers. They were unable to help me with bids, lacked patience to show multiple homes per year. And also, a lot of them, had actually problems as well, where they were not able to be very patient with me. And that was also a big problem, because I was actually doing a lot of deals where I was trying to help people out and try to buy as many properties as I can, and they lacked passion in showing 15, 20 properties to me, because I wanted to make the best decision as possible. So instead, I became a real estate agent for myself, and I also realized that there are a lot of other people needed help, so I started helping other people out as well. So the disclaimer I wanted to make it today is, I'm not an apartment syndicator and I don't have expertise in syndication. And this presentation is for knowledge sharing. I want to introduce an idea and share that an apartment syndication. What is apartment syndication? I want to share my knowledge that I put together. I have expertise in um, helping people buy, sell properties. I have expertise in office building, in renting, leasing. I have expertise in flipping, buying and selling, fixing properties, and all of that. Apartment syndication is a completely different niche. It's actually something that a person should have to be doing full time. It's not like a part time. It's like something very, very huge, where somebody had to like at least put in like significant amount of time if they are actually the syndicator. But if you are an investor, then you don't have to put in a lot of time. I'm also not a financial advisor, and real estate investing can be risky. This is something that a disclaimer that I have to make. So now, I just want to give an overview of real estate syndication. Okay, so real estate syndication is basically, syndication allows multiple investors to pool resources and share risk when purchasing an investment. So for an example, if an apartment building costs about, let's say, 20, um, let's say about a $2 million, and you don't want to put a single dollar for the $2 million. So what you can do is, instead of putting any money down, you can actually get all of that money through the other investors who are going to give you the funds to invest in, right? That is one way to simplify, is called a syndication. But you can't just actually ask everybody to give you money. Let's say you can't really say, hey, give me 2 million, give me 2 million, I'm going to buy this apartment building. You have to do the complete setup, and then you have to learn pretty much every single thing that goes with it, so that the investor trusts you. Because if I wire you or send you $2 million or $1 million, $50,000, I mean, it's a little bit risky for me if the person doing the syndication doesn't have experience. So that is something you have to do. So you have indicator investors, you have syndicator, is a person who brings all the investors into a single syndication and pulls the money together to buy or make that sale, right? So now let's do a syndication overview, right? What is the services that a syndicator is providing, right? A syndicator is a person putting everything together. So syndicator finds the investment, enters into the purchase and sale agreement, assigns the purchase and sale agreement to an LLC, raises the money to buy the syndication, and manages the investment. Management of the investment of the property is not necessarily being a property manager, but even though there is a property manager, you have to make sure the property manager is doing a good job, because most of the apartment buildings have property managers, and if the owner is not looking at the property managers, then the property managers could be slacking off. So for an example, you have a property management company who is you know the moment somebody leaves a home, they are taking almost 2-3 months to get a new tenant. So you probably have to investigate why they are taking so long to get a tenant into the home, because it's the rental market is very good right now. A lot of people are looking for a rental home, right? Maybe they're not doing proper advertisement. Maybe they just put an ad on Craigslist and never follow up. Maybe they're not posting advertisements on Zillow, Redfin, and other platforms, right? So the property managers could be doing something wrong that people don't know. So the syndicator also oversees the property manager as well, to make sure the property management company is doing their job right. Okay. Syndication phases, right? There are different phases. There is a formation is basically a formation of LLC, formation of an account, formation of the setup, then fundraising, where you actually um, get multiple different people from multiple different places to raise the funds. Then there is prospecting, which you actually go and prospect and find a property, right? And then you have acquisitions, where you are negotiating the property, buying the property, doing all those things. And operations is where you're running the complete operation of the property, like property manager, making decisions, right? For an example, if the roof is bad, changing the entire roof on a 100-unit apartment building might cost you like about $100,000. Is it a wise decision to change the roof or just make repairs? Because if you make the repairs, there might be a 10 more repairs that you might need to make over the period of time. So if you change the roof, it might last for 40 years. So you have to make those type of decision. Reposition is something like where you are increasing the value of the property by adding things to it, and then you exit. Exit is basically sell the property, take your share, and do all that. Second thing is with the syndication is um, there's different type of syndications, right? There is a single property or a fund, um, and there are different type of places you can syndicate. It necessarily does not have to be a multifamily or an apartment building. It could be an office, or it could be a land or retail. Let's say there is a land where, let's say in Texas, and Tesla is moving to Texas, and the value of that land is going to increase because that land comes to a close proximity of the Tesla plant. So, um, so a syndicator will actually do the acquisition and get that land so that he could build apartment buildings on it that could have very high demand because of the amount of labor that will be moving towards that vicinity, because they will be working at the Tesla plant, right? So that is something that a syndicator can also do. Line up service providers, right? There are different type of service providers like internet provider, landscaping company. If the property is in an area where it snows a lot, like Chicago, Minnesota, New York, New Jersey, Colorado, then they're gonna line up a snow cleaning service. All those people who actually do basic maintenance on that, or become an expert or hire expert in syndication phases, and they need to form a syndication entity. There is different ways to form a syndication entity. You can hire an attorney who will file your limited liability company in the state where the property is located. Then you're going to have articles of organization, which are basically LLC documents generated by the Secretary of State of that place. then operating agreements, like how the property is going to be operated, and all these legal documents. An attorney can do it for you so that you don't have to worry about this too much. You'll have a tax ID, a separate bank account, and accounting records. You can have a bookkeeper or a CPA do the accounting for you. They will generate monthly profit and loss statements, which will basically have a expenses section and a section for income. Like for an example, the rent was about $100,000. 10% went to the property manager. That will be $10,000. Another 5% went to electricity or water or garbage and all of these expenses that comes in, and the final profit was like $50,000, right? Those are the accounting records so that you have your everything done professionally. You don't want to make a mistake in accounting by doing it yourself. So it's better to hire a CPA for it. Then comes the fundraising, right? This is the most important part. So, for an example, if you want to become a syndicator where you want to raise funds from many different people to buy a building, then you have to be very good at marketing, and you need to present the idea very well. Like, for an example, you might have your own brother who is starting syndication, and you might not believe in him that he's going to take your money and invest it into the right place. So your brother need to do a proper presentation to you. He cannot just say, "Hey, bro, let's do this thing. I know you got a couple $100,000. Just give it to me. I'm gonna put it into this apartment building, and we're gonna make a lot of money." Something like that. You're probably not gonna take a risk, because investing hundreds and thousands of dollars is actually a big risk, and it takes a lot of effort to put in. So if somebody who's a syndicator going to present what they're going to do, they have to be very professional. They have to put together a proper presentation of why you should invest your money into this project, and why you are you are a better syndicator than the other syndicators out there. You have to show your expertise. If you are a new into the business, then you actually need to tell how much amount of energy you have put together in learning this business. You have good contacts, you have mentors, you have experts, you have a dream team that is going to make this project a success. So you need to make sure you have done all of your homework before you go and start talking to the people and present them your idea to raise funds so that you can buy that office building or a retail shop or a shopping mall, anything that you're looking to buy, right? um, you know so right now, like, as compared to the office and the retail, I feel a little bit safer to invest into the apartment buildings, because apartment buildings, there are always like these young generation millennials that you call, don't really want it to actually buy a single family home, do all the maintenance, which requires a lot of work, like landscaping, doing the all the different things like maintenance of the roof and the basement and all that. They just want to rent a place on a month-to-month basis, pay $1,500, $2,000 rent, don't worry about anything, and they just want to live that way. So most of the young generations are looking for apartment to live in instead of buying a single family home. So if you're buying an apartment building, you have less risk because there are more population increasing and more people wanted more homes, right? There is also a shortage of homes in some of the places because so many people are moving as well, as compared to retail or land, because you might buy a land, but there might be a lot of complications. You might not get permission to build a building on it, or the government might give, or the state might give only permission to use a small portion of that land to build the building or anything on it. So apartment building is actually a safer side to invest your funds if you're actually doing syndication, right? Second thing is, um, you need to do proper advertisement, marketing documents. Like for an example, you know, if you don't have a lot of family and friends who are doctors, lawyers, investors, who are not making hundreds and thousands of dollars, then you have to reach out to people that you don't know. So you can do advertisements through Facebook. You can create a LinkedIn profile and reach out to the people, buy a premium LinkedIn account, make flyers, marketing documents, and reach out to individuals who are doing apartment syndication or who are investors that you want to raise the funds from. You can also send letters to prospective investors. Let's say you held a meeting where you are raising funds. 50 people showed up in that meeting, but you have taken the contact information of all of them. Then you can send an email marketing or a physical letter to follow up to see if they are still interested. Right, all those things you have to do if you want to be doing syndication at a very higher level. Let's say you're trying to buy $100 million apartment building, then you have to do a lot of work. If you're only going to buy $1 million apartment building, then it's not a lot of work. 10 people give you $100,000, then you're good. Prospecting, right? So select asset group to specialize, right? You have to go into a small niche. You have to like develop a criteria. So you should be not somebody who's just going to buy any random property that comes on the market. You should be specific about the type of properties you want to buy. Let's say like I'm gonna buy a property in this which is in the 1 hour radius of Seattle metropolitan area. I'm not gonna go and buy a property that is 2 hours away in Tri Cities or 3 hours away in some random area where there is not a lot of people there, and I'm gonna have trouble driving all the way down and managing it. Right. You also need to have other criterias, which includes like the proper apartment building need to have parking spaces for everybody. It needs to have extra guest parking. It needs to have reserve parking. It needs to have garages. It needs to have storage, because all these things affect if there are some of the things that your apartment building doesn't have, and there's a new construction happening across the street where the apartments actually have everything that your apartment have, and it's a nicer one, then they're going to move to that apartment, right? So you need to have all those criterias, because when you are actually taking hundreds and thousands of dollars from other people and investing into an asset, you have to make sure you are protecting their money and you're making the wise decision, because people actually trust you when you actually have done your own research of why that apartment building would be the best one to invest in. You have to actually also develop financial model to analyze options. Like you should be able to know how to run numbers, which includes like how to calculate the capitalization rate, net operating income, and show them exactly how much they're going to be able to make per month as a profit that comes from the rental income of that place. You should be able to have a good system where you're going to look for deals. I mean, if you're just somebody who is going to look at Redfin and try to find some deal, then you're probably not the best syndicator. You need to have very strong relationship with real estate agents, brokers, who specialize in helping investors find apartment buildings. These are the investors who spend tens of hours researching, making phone calls, and finding deals for their syndicators. And you have to be very professional when you talk to these brokers. If you tell them like, I'm thinking to get into this syndication thing, if you have some deal, bring it to me, then they're not going to work with you. You have to be very serious. You have to tell them that, hey, I'm a syndicator, I have a pool of investors who can potentially give me up to $1 million. I'm really serious in making a move. If you bring me a good deal, then they're going to be like, man, this guy is serious. I'm going to put him in the top list of 50 investors that I have who's looking for properties. And you have to give them a specific criteria. I'm looking for a property in West Seattle, or I'm looking for a property in South Seattle. It need to have 50 units. The average rent need to be about a $1,600. Average apartment unit should be about a 1,200 with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And that that's how you should be very specific when you're talking to these brokers. So these brokers are going to say that, well, this guy seems to know what he's talking about and looks like he's gonna not waste my time, and make a serious decision when I'm gonna bring him a good deal. There are also a lot of off market deals you can actually look into. So off market is basically a property that is not listed with an agent. So when a property is listed with an agent, it's called a property on the market. Those properties have more competition, and sometimes if the property is a good deal, then there are a lot of people bidding on it. But there are a bunch of landlords who do not want to list their property on the market for many reasons. One of the reason is, the moment the landlord lists the property in the market, all the tenants, the renters who are renting the units, start to get panic a little bit, because they think like, wow, then this guy is selling the property, the new owner is gonna come. I don't know how he's gonna treat us. I don't know if he's gonna increase the rent. All those things they're gonna be a little bit worried about. So some tenants might also start leaving the place in an assumption that the new landlord is going to kick them out, or maybe renovate the place and resell it or do something else. So, and also the landlord save a lot of money in the real estate commission when they actually have the property selling off market. So you can join the meetup groups. It's called meetup.com. You can network with the individuals who know other individuals who own apartment buildings, because every investor, every landlord is trying to upgrade. Somebody who owns a 10 unit apartment building wanted to sell and buy a 20 unit apartment building, or somebody who might own four unit apartment building and he want to sell all of them and buy something really big, right? So all the time there are people who are trying to get rid of properties and trying to buy something else. So if you are always on the lookout, then you will find a deal, right? If you're like, for an example, you're looking for a used car, a good deal. I mean, you keep finding, you don't find it the first week, the second week, the third week. Month later, you will just find that deal, right? That's how it is. When you keep looking, you'll eventually find it. Second thing that I wanted to do is acquisition. When you're actually purchasing and selling a property, you have to do proper negotiation, because if you don't do the negotiation right, you are buying a property at a very high value. The investors don't want to invest into it, because when you're going to sell the property, you're not going to be able to make the money. So if you do a proper negotiation, then you're going to be able to make a good amount of money. And also, I would recommend read books um, when you're actually trying to negotiate, how to talk to people, how to negotiate. I wouldn't recommend getting a bank loan. I would recommend like getting investors to actually put in all the funds, total 100%, and you have to send the investment package, receive investor funds, and close on the purchase. The partial list of documents that you actually need to require to purchase a property is going to be a letter of intent. Letter of intent is something that you have to give it to the owner, that you are looking to buy this property and you have the funds available for it. Then comes the purchase and sale agreement, then comes the assignment agreement, using which you assign the purchase and sale agreement to an LLC or to a syndication, where all the pool of investors are going to work on. Then you're going to have escrow agreements, which is basically closing documents, then loan documents, if you're getting a loan, which I don't recommend getting a loan. Then there are due diligence documents, which include surveys, environmental reports, title insurance, and all that. Then in acquisition, you have all the other different type of documents that required. These are all legal mumbo jumbo, which an attorney will provide you all of these. You don't have to go into the details right now, because you go to an attorney, they will get you all of these documents. These are for the investors, because they're investing a lot of money with you. You have to make sure you provide all the documents. So for an example, when you go open up a bank account, the guy will give you a bunch of documents of what your bank account includes. He will get a bunch of signatures and all those things to make sure you understand all the policies, right? So that later you mess up something, they shouldn't be coming back to sue you for something that you did not disclose. So all these documents will actually protect everybody, including the investors, from getting into conflicts or surprises that come later on. These are operations. Operations is basically which include property management. You can have your own property manager, then you can actually earn a little bit more money, earn more money, because if you're going to have your own property manager, which you can locate tenants, you can hire and supervise maintenance as well. So there are other asset management that includes like monitor property value, make sure what is going on in the area, take action to keep property the top revenue producing level. So you always need to be monitoring. I mean, you cannot just buy the property and go to some other country and live in Dubai and let the property stay the way it is. Let's say that you bought a property, everything is going good, and then all of a sudden something crazy happens. Like, let's say that somebody opens up a meth lab and they're selling drugs in that area, right? You need to make sure, you need to talk to the local people, talk to the cops, and make sure things are actually under control. Because if, let's say, in that area drugs are happening a lot, there's a lot of crime rate increasing, and the property value might go down, so people are not going to want to buy your property. So, and if things are out of control, you want to sell the property as soon as possible, because if things have started getting out of control, then the property value might go down. And if you're buying a property that's millions of dollars, then you're going to actually get a big hit. So all those things you have to be monitoring. And also investor relations, you have to keep sending reports on a regular basis, and distribution checks, which are basically, if you're not paying the investors on time, they don't want to invest with you, right? So that's another thing as well. So you have to make sure you're sending the distribution checks to the people and everything on time. Okay, I see that some people are joining a little bit late, but I wouldn't recommend worrying about it, because I will actually be recording this presentation and sending the presentation as well. We also have a Facebook community. I'll share you where I am going live right now, so you can join that group as well. So operations, right? Management contract, rental agreement, service contract, agreement with suppliers, accounting records, tax returns, insurance contracts, investor summary, and period distribution. So these are all basic legal contracts that you can get online as well. But you don't have to worry about writing all these up yourself. Reposition, right? So reposition is basically, you know, um, selling the property. So if you are selling the property, you have to make sure you are going to do some improvements to the property. Let's say you have a building and the paint is really bad, and the entire property looks like it's really old because of the paint. So what you can do is, well, you know what, I'm going to paint the property exterior. Um, then you can do some basic updates like changing the common area carpets. Then you can increase the rents, because the property value of a multifamily is not based upon the other properties selling in the area like we do for single family homes. Like your neighbor's property sold for like $1 million, then your property might be worth in that range. It's not like that. For an apartment building, your property value is based on the net operating income, which is also called as NOI. And this net operating income will give the property value. So if you raise the rent, then the net operating income also raises, and the property values also raises, because one of the factors of the property value is based on the net operating income. So, and then you lower the expenses. So, for example, if the property manager is actually charging about 20% of the total rent, which is significantly high, just an example, then you can hire another property manager who's going to charge like 10% of the entire rent to manage the property. So, if you lower the expenses and increase the net operating income, the property value also increases. And then you can exit. So, if you're going to exit and sell a property and make a lot of money, then you have to hire professionals. What they do is, hire a broker, a real estate agent who have experience in buying and selling apartment buildings, and an attorney as well, who is gonna do the paperwork, make sure that you're not writing any information that is going to work against you, because sometimes you have to make disclosures. And selling a 100-unit apartment building, there might be issues in the property that you might not know, and you might not disclose those issues because you don't live in that property and you're not aware of it. So having an attorney will protect you from getting into any problem for anything that you have done in the paperwork that you don't know about. Then market property for sale, sell a property and consider 1031 exchange. 1031 exchange is something that when you get capital gains, like for an example, when you sell a property, either a single family home, your own home, or another home that is actually used for investment, then from whatever profit you get, if it's $100,000, $200,000, the IRS is going to charge you tax on it. In order to defer that tax, you can actually take 1031 exchange, which basically buy another property within 45 days, and whatever profit you gain, you just invest into another property or put in a down payment or something like that. So then you actually get some tax benefits from there. And wind up acquisition entity LLC. So these are some of the exit strategy. I know some people joined a little late. As I mentioning, we have a Seattle real estate community on Facebook. I also have a YouTube channel called Buying and Selling with Abdul Rahman, where I upload all these videos. So I'm going to upload this video as well and send it. So I just wanted to let you know, as I said in the beginning of this presentation, that I'm not an expert, I'm not a syndicator, I don't do apartment syndications, but this is an idea. You can become a syndicator if you have a lot of time and you're really passionate about negotiation and putting everything together. But if you don't want to do all that, you can actually join other syndications that are out there, work with other experienced syndicators, and you know, and talk to them, and then see what they said. You can also always go to other places, like as I said, meetup.com, and then you can go here and then search for um, all the events. Like for an example, let's go to Google and search for any syndications meeting happening. Apartment syndication, Seattle meetup, right? So you can go to a meetup, multifamily investment firm. You can talk to this firm. You can actually go to this, um, meetups where there are meetings. There are physical meetings. There are meetings online. You can join this group and attend a meeting in person. Sometimes they charge you. Like there's a meeting coming up on July 5th at 6 p.m. on Monday. It's an online event. You can talk to people, exchange contact information online as well. And also you can talk to all the different people who do multifamily and learn from them. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stop earning in real estate. The more you learn, the more you earn. So the more knowledge you have, the better decisions you can make. So I hope it all makes sense to you. If you have any questions, I'll be able to answer it. And if you're shy to ask questions, you can also um, put the question in the chat as well. So it looks like we don't have any questions. And if you have any questions general about real estate or anything like that, you can also WhatsApp me on my number, or text me or call me 425-243-7860. Also email me as well. At the bottom left screen, you can see my contact information. I appreciate you all joining. Let me know if any questions later on. Thank you.